Hey, hi everyone. Welcome back. So guys, let us try to understand how this detox is differ from our traditional APM or an XCUI test. Or in a simple note, I can say that when I need to go for a detox, when I need to go for an XCUI test, or when I need to go for an APM, all those things. See, let us see the quick comparisons between these two. Okay, so the primary objective of this particular detox is if your requirement is to test complete end-to-end flows on a React Native applications, then you will be going for a detox. Whereas on the other side, if your requirement is to test only the native iOS applications, in such cases you will be preferring the XCUI test. And if your requirement is to check native hybrid applications and mobile web applications, if you have this mixed requirement, then you need to go for an APM. And if you consider the platform support here, both the Detox and as well as an APM supports Android and as well as an iOS, whereas this XCUI test precisely works for iOS only application itself. And how this detox or the APM and an XCUI test, how they will be interacting with that particular application, or I can say what exactly the testing approach behind this particular tool. I can say that this gray box testing approach is the critical thing that we have in a detox, and whereas the APM does suppose the black box testing approach. And of course, even the XCI also supports the black box testing itself, which is I can say it's a native framework which is tightly integrated. But if you consider on a high level, right, so the approach that it is following internally itself is a black box. So both the APM and XCI uses internally a black box approach itself. And coming to the programming languages, in order to work on this particular detox, we should be familiarized with the JavaScript, and even we can also use it with the TypeScripting also. Whereas if you go with an APM, you can pick up any of the programming languages like a Java, Python, Ruby, JavaScript, etc. Whereas an XCUI test, right, you will be using a Swift or an Objective-C, and that's gonna be within your Xcode itself. Right, perfect. And moving on to the performance, how exactly they are going to work out. So we can say that the speed with respect to the detox for the React Native applications is very fast. And of course, by default, there is a synchronization mechanism in that particular one. Okay, and if you consider APM, I can say that the performance is a bit less in this particular one. And moving on to the installations also, I can say that APM does has a complex installation. And moving on to the XCUI test, of course, the performance testing is fast. Okay, of course, the performance testing is fast. And if you see the setup, how much complex it's going to be required means basically, this detox need a moderate setup itself, whereas a APM needs a complex setup. Whereas on an XCUI test side, you don't need to do any setup basically. If you have a code base of the DAO in your machine, right, you can directly work on that. Then immediately a question that comes in our mind. So Surendra, we studied about these three tools, right? Then which one we need to pick in the real world? So consider that your application does has a cross platforms and it need to interact a web, mobile apps, all those things. And it does has a diverse programming language supports. In such cases, go with an APM. And when to use this detox means precisely for a React Native application. So consider that your project, they are precisely working for a React Native applications, right? In such cases, then go with this particular detox. And when to use an XCI test means in your organization, if they are building only the iOS application itself, rather than going with the other tools, you can go with a simple XCI test itself. And another thing that we need to consider here is basically this detox does has a limitation in interacting with the real iOS devices, which is not there for both the XCI test and as well as an APM. Okay, so this excuse me. Yeah. So this is the quick comparison between these three tools. In the next session, we will be looking at the further concept. Thank you. Bye bye.